Folks, you know who it is. Your favorite person's favorite person could not be more excited to be here right now with clothing branding icon Mykel, the entrepreneur, who I'm about to bring up. So you know how it goes. I only bring the best of the best. So I'm looking forward to having an amazing conversation with this amazing person. Ladies and gentlemen, Mykel.
What's going on, man? What's going on?
How you feeling in sunny San Diego? Correct? San Diego? Where we at?
Yeah, San Diego. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
I'm jealous. That's why there's the dramatic pause.
Well, it is what it is. My wife and I were just having a conversation. She's kind of over it, but for me, I'm like, I love it. I love the weather and everything. So everything's a drive away. So we can go to the snow if we want to and go to the beach and all that good stuff. So we're spoiled over here.
That's the truth. You know, my brother-in-law. That's exactly what was just happening, but it's okay. I get it. You know, my brother and sister-in-law and my sister-in-law and brother are also over in San Diego. We've been tinkering with it. Just love the sunshine. So as I told you before this, I want to ask you to do something for everyone, and that's I want you to brag unapologetically about you. All right, take at least 30 to 60 seconds. Get taken away. Ready and go.
Yeah, well, my biggest mission, which I've learned as I've grown as a human being, is just to give back. And the best way I can do that is to be the first business owner that I can be, because I feel like through there, I know that there's people that are looking at me that look like me that need to know that there's other ways, you know, to build generational wealth and just going to work every day. And, you know, that's number one. So that's the biggest thing for me. And then so throughout my journey of becoming who I am today as a full-time business owner is just being impactful and trying to build what my business is now, to be able to employ awesome people, build a community around what I'm doing, and then ultimately at the end of it all, be able to give back in a way of a nonprofit. That's my end goal, is to have a nonprofit and share what entrepreneurship has done for me as a person and as a human being. I just want to share that with a young mind, because I was pushed, as a lot of people, you know, when you're young, you get pushed into sports and all the things that, you know, everybody glamorizes, right? But then, you know, you have the actors that are now like in Hollywood, but back in the days they were the nerds, you know, or, you know, the kids that were, you know, it's just all the different things. Life gets twisted upside down. Once you hit like 21, it's like, well, the things that you thought weren't cool are now, you know, the things that are long lasting. So like learning business and figuring out things that are bigger than just like the things that we all see in our adolescence, just sharing that with youth, because it actually changed me a lot towards the end of my high school career. And I wish I would have done it sooner. So I wish I would have been exposed to business and in a more impactful way. So that's my end goal. Currently right now, I run my shop full time. I went full time 2 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had to convince my wife. It was probably, you know, one of the biggest pitches I ever did in my life, because she was my biggest stakeholder. She's been there with me through thick and thin, homelessness and everything. So just being through in this journey of being a full-time entrepreneur, it's just awesome. It comes with a lot of roller coasters. You can talk about it, but until you experience them, and having to meet payroll and, you know, having to pay taxes and just all the things that you have to do. So that's where I'm at right now. The business that I own is ECG Graphics and Printing. So we are a print shop located in Southern California, San Diego to be exact. And, you know, we partner with some pretty awesome brands, some well-known brands. We printed for the YMCA. We've also printed for the Croc Center. We printed for other businesses around the area. But even though, you know, that's what I need to say, but even though we have some big names that we printed for, what we really enjoy doing, our most impactful customer is that startup entrepreneur. You know, the person that has an idea to start something, you know, because I already told you that's my roots. I went from being a full-time employee to, you know, then doing this, you know, full-time. So I love it when someone comes into the doors and they're like, hey man, I'm on my break, man, but I got this idea and this is what I'm trying to do. Or, they're you could see the sleep in their eyes because they just been grinding, and you know they're just looking for something. So through what our business is trying to do now, we're moving into this place where we want to be more impactful, and we want to give the customers that we come in contact with more information on how to make them be more successful, rather than just take their money and just look at it as like a transactional thing. So
that's amazing.
yeah.
Thanks. So do you all ship? I mean, someone might be thinking, do you all ship?
Say that again.
Do you all ship? Like,
Do we ship? Yeah.
Because and there's an elementary question. Just wanted to make sure. I'm excited, folks. That means if you're not on the West Coast, you can get your stuff from the West Coast too. Let's hop into that. When did you know that, hey, I want to do something? You mentioned like in high school, some different moments hit. You're like, hey, I feel different. I want to grow in a different way. How did you know it was like entrepreneurship was the move for you?
When it started to take over my mind, you know, when I was on the basketball court practicing, and the only thing I could think about was, you know, an idea that I have for a T-shirt, or, you know, when it consumed me more than the things that I was passionate about. Like I was naturally passionate about sports and hanging out with my friends and you know, certain things, but when it just started to like take over me, and it was all I wanted, I knew that there was something in it. And then what really transformed me, and it's crazy how things work, but manifestation is a big thing. And I believe it was junior year. I got kind of stumbled into this class, this business class, and I wasn't even supposed to be in the class, but the class was for high school, or not, of course it was high schoolers. It was for it was an alternative for seniors. So you know, I had to take government economics. So it was an alternative for seniors to actually take an economics class, but it was teaching business. So long story short, the class was, each period was ultimately a different business. So all of the classmates, we all decided on what business we were going to be in, and we all had to actually interview and hire. Well, in the beginning of the class, what our teacher did is gave us a structure of how business was ran from admin to sales to marketing and all that stuff. And then once we figured out the structure and the different job titles that made a business run, then we were able to go in and actually interview. So fast forward in the conversation, so each period had their own business that they ran. So me being exposed to that was like, oh my gosh, like it was crazy. And I only have 4 periods. So my last period was sports. And then third period, I was going into freaking basketball practice, just thinking about business. And then, so by the time I was a senior, I had already started my first little business, went downtown and got a DBA and all that good stuff. And just started creating custom apparel because I love fashion. And that's actually what I was going to pursue after high school, was fashion. So I started a custom apparel brand, and then I learned about, you know, different ways of mass production and things like that. Learned how to sew, all that stuff, and then
Really?
yeah. And then that's when, you know, ECG started to formulate. You know, I started to figure out how to actually print and silk screen, and then I was an artist basically that learned how to print, and then and then from there, you know, and it's crazy about that class too, is because we had so many different opportunities. So we went to Bakersfield. There was also a New York trip that I couldn't go to due to finances, but we were able to really legitimately set up a business. So we had these trade shows that we would go to, and we got a certain budget, and we had to go in and we had to design our booth. And then we figured out how we were going to do transactions with our customers and what we were going to sell. So I was in charge. I actually, ironically enough, I ended up getting hired as a VP of marketing. So my job was to be in charge of not only coming up with the actual products that we sold, but then I also came up with all of the marketing tools, which makes sense. I own a business where I do marketing, right? So yeah, I made the catalog, and, you know, just how I put the SKUs on there, and everything was scannable, and it was really, really, really cool. So through that experience, that's when I just really started to like learn about this world of business. And then my dad had side hustles as a kid too. So as a kid, you know, you kind of tune out the things that your parents say because you don't really like know. And then once I was exposed to business and I saw what my dad was doing, I was like, oh, okay. And it started to make sense.
Yep. You kind of find that business is a sport all on its own. that people
Yeah.
don't understand, like the level, like you're a pro, you're in a pro in a different sport. And a lot of folks don't understand that along the way. Do you find that it took a while for, let's say, family or friends to understand this new sport that you are playing or were playing at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's hard because, and this is one thing that I tell a lot of my customers is your family's going to be there to kind of support. They should be there to support you no matter what decision that you make. But oftentimes they're not going to be like your customer, and a lot of people get that mistake. They mistake that with like, and whatever, like that's not even what you should be doing. But also like it's kind of still goes on to the same ideas. Like your family and support, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but really your relationships you have to compartmentalize because oftentimes the people, it was a friend of mine just said this to me too. She was like, you don't really, not everyone's going to give you what you need at that moment. And sometimes we find and seek certain things and validations from the wrong people. And then we get mad at those people for not validating us the way that we want when that's not what they're there for. Right. You know, like
Yeah.
you got to really figure that out. And I've learned like through my experience with business, like my family they're not my ideal customer. They're not who I'm building my business for. And I would get mad. It's like, oh, you're not supporting me. You're not coming and, buying t-shirts and stuff. It's like, but why would they? That's not, that's not what they're
That's
supposed to do.
That's really fair. It's really fair. Folks who are watching, listening at some point, understanding that your family is likely not your ideal customer. Like
they're not.
And it has to make
they're going to
sense.
support you.
Yeah, they're there to be family, not
Correct.
your client.
They support you and love you, and give you what you need. And so that, I don't know if that answered your question, but that was that's probably still one of the biggest things that I've learned myself, but I also try to share with my customers, like stop promoting to your family. Stop sending emails and text messages to your family saying, hey, come support me. Because that's not.
I'm quoting you later. Like, stop promoting to your family. Like, just stop it.
Yeah, because you're not making that for them. Unless it is something ultimate like baking and stuff like that. Like obviously if you start a business baking, obviously that's something that's more
they eat cool.
Cool. Yeah. But when you're like coming in and you're starting something new, oftentimes that your family doesn't even really like know about, they're not your customers. They're not the people that you are promoting to. So you got to really understand that and know what you're getting from that. Know those expectations in the beginning and compartmentalize that. And you'll know you have a group of friends that you actually grow with. You have a group of friends that you just enjoy life with. And you have a group of friends that, I don't know, you just chill with. You just gotta know. And when you're trying to make somebody something else that they're not, that's when you start to run into issues.
Ooh, become wildly frustrated. So tell me the absolute best thing about having your own shop and the absolute worst thing about having your own shop.
Best thing about having your own shop is I think being excited, having the control to be able to change things. The absolute worst part of owning my own shop is not knowing everything, like I think no matter how great of a business owner you are, like you don't know it all. There's going to be something out there that you get exposed to. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is just not knowing and then hitting an obstacle and be like, God dang it. How do I get around this? Or what book do I need to read? How do I need to educate myself? And who do I know that's in my circle, that's in my network that I can like pull some information from? Because this is driving me crazy. So those are the two things for sure.
Appreciate that. Couple more things, and then I will let you go. I know earlier you mentioned, your wife and her being with you through thick and thin. A couple things. How did you know, like, this is my person? And two, how important was it for you to have that kind of support? Because we know like the ebbs and flows, highs and lows, difficult times, but to have someone that had your back and it was along with you the whole time, what was it like? You don't mind sharing?
Well, I met my wife through work, and I start by saying this, and I started the conversation with saying like she was my biggest stakeholder. But when I see my wife, when I first like met her, like we were just friends, so that was a good thing. We were friends. It wasn't anything that was like bigger than that. We didn't get distracted with physicality and all that other stuff. So when I knew that she was the one that I wanted to be with, is because for me, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. So I know that someone that's going to be with me has to be able to endure life's challenges, because I'm not someone that grew up with a silver spoon. You know, I've dealt with a lot of different stuff, and at that point in my life, I knew being with me would not be this crazy life-changing experience. And because I was still trying to figure out who I was. I was in my early 20s, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I knew. And then once I actually saw some of the things that I was going through and how she kind of helped support me, then I was like, you know what? Because I had been in relationships where it's like, oh, everything's nice, and then if everything's nice and everything's cool, we're gonna just be great. But then I realized with her, it's like, no, like if I was broke tomorrow, if something happened to me, like she's the one that I would want to be. Like, it doesn't matter. And then a friend of mine, well, he was actually my boss, but he was also a good friend of mine. What he said to me was like, you always want to marry the person that you feel like it's too good for you. Wow. And I legitimately felt that way. I felt like when I first met her, like I said, we were just friends, and I just felt like I wasn't her type, and
yeah,
I just didn't think that I would be able to give her what she wanted. And then when it actually came out, she was the one that actually let me know how she felt. And then once I figured out and I knew that that's how she felt, then it just changed everything. So yeah, and we just been through so much, and I just personally feel like if I could give any advice to anybody, don't commit to a relationship based off of the good moments and the good times. Like, marry somebody based off of knowing, like, hey, if I go bald tomorrow, if I get seriously, if I lose my job, if like these are conversations that you need to have with people, because if you don't, it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna hurt you, because then when those times do get hard, which they will, then you're gonna be less likely to actually like push through and persevere with those people. So
yeah. Cool. I know I gotta move and shake. Thank you for that piece. And if you don't mind me saying, you remind me of again, when people that advice Mykel just shared with you all about knowing who you're gonna be with, or being able to identify, and not just when everything is, there's bottles popping, everyone's high five and life is good. It's like when it's quiet, when there's nothing going on around and things are. Remember my wife and I, it's funny because I like to think I'm a great guy. Maybe most people think so, but I have my moments. And it was definitely in a moment where I was upset. And she didn't say anything at all. She's kind of walked up to me and hugged me for a long time. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I need. No words, no, it was just that solace. So that was some amazing advice she gave. Any final words or thoughts? Thank you very much, Mykel. We'll probably do this again if you're okay with it. Any other final words and thoughts, for folks watching, listening, or coming across this?
Yeah. Just, I'll leave you guys with this quote. Your no goal is unobtainable. You should be able to reach any goal, but goals are the architects of the imagination. And with that said, write down what you want to do, where you want to be, and then take the time to actually formulate a plan and figure that out, and never give up. Also, always keep yourself in a mindset of being a learner. Don't be too cocky. Read a book if you can. Just really get involved in what you're trying to be. I'm not really sure what audience members you guys have, but if you are looking for someone to, like, for motivation and things like that, like, that's probably the biggest thing. Like, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. As long as you can put it on paper, figure out where you want to go, how you want to get there, and then just stick to that plan and hold yourself accountable. And then, find people that are around you that will keep you pushing too. So,
man, Mykel, thank you so much. And again, folks, he's in Cali. He's 3, I'm East Coast time, West Coast time. So I'm 3 hours in the future. So thank you for spending your morning with us. Thank you for being here. Big time. Folks, thank you. As you learn, listen, and grow, we are a product of the people that we spend our time with and talk to. So now I'm just going to ask, who are you talking to? Who are you spending time with? And it's okay if you wake up this moment and go, oh, yeah, because we all say we're a product of the people we hang around, but we only say that when we know we're around great people. Let's have some real conversation with ourselves and see who we can be tomorrow and the day after that. And you don't have to be perfect, just have to be willing to make some progress, because Effort on Fire beats Knowledge on Ice. Mykel, thank you again so very much for being here. Have an amazing day. Folks,
Appreciate it, sir.
Anytime. This is Dan Pierce, the second year here for a show. Peace.